Hey all, and a happy Scream Fortress. It's been a while since the last upload. Had a lot going on in my life the past month, but I'm back and ready to make this next video. I have a couple of quick things I want to say before this video starts, but if you want to skip straight to the video, go to this timestamp here. First off, I got a new microphone, so my voice will hopefully sound better. But actually, thank you to everyone who's still watching my videos and staying subscribed. I'm glad I still have all you guys' attention. Secondly, I do not think I will try and push out a video every week. With college, starting my internship, I just don't think that's physically possible for me. It might only be one video a month, maybe twice a month. Really, I'll just upload whenever and whatever I want to. And finally, I think I might branch out a little bit, do some content variety. I'm playing a lot of Pokemon recently, so maybe something to do with that. Trying Overwatch 2, that's been a lot of fun. But I don't really know if I'll do any of that, but it's just a thought that I'm having right now. With that all out of the way, let's look at the combined weapon stats of the Pyro. We're going over the rules again, so if you've already seen one of these videos before, skip to the timestamp to continue on with the video.
Here's how it works. If a weapon gives plus 20% firing speed, and another weapon takes away minus 10 firing speed, then the fire speed overall gives a plus 10% bonus. One thing to note is not all weapons in a weapon slot will be combined. For example, Heavy has two different secondaries, these being the lunchbox items and the shotgun items. Each will be separated into its own category. If all the downsides on a certain weapon reach over minus 100%, meaning it won't do anything, the percent will be sent to minus 99%, but I'll be putting the number it would be in parentheses next to the minus 99%. All damage, bullet spread, and clip size positive and negatives will be based off the stock item. I won't be going into detail about bullet spread or crits unless the weapon specifically says anything in regard to those two. If a weapon is of the same weapon slot, even though they look different like Dumb Man's swords and bottles, I will still be combining them into one because they serve the same function. While weapons like Scout's pistol and Mad Milk I will be separating because they serve different purposes and do completely different things. And it's way too complicated and I don't want to get into it right now. If you see a stat on a weapon that isn't on that weapon in TF2, that's because I'm using the TF2 wiki as a guide to look at the weapon stats, even the hidden stats. At the end of the video, I'll be putting the weapons in a tier list to see which ones become overpowered and which ones become completely useless.
The Pyro has one primary, 4 secondaries, and 1 melee. Looking at their secondaries, we have shotguns, flare guns, the thermal thruster, and the gas passer. Due to the nature of the latter two, we will not be looking at them, and instead just the shotguns and the flare guns. Also, the man melter is enough like the flare guns, so I'm throwing it in with those flare guns. If you have any questions at all, make sure to let me know in the comments below. With everything out of the way, let's start off with the Pyro's Flamethrowers. Measuring Pyro's Flamethrowers will be different from the other previous classes. They are the first class to have automatic weapon, while the Scout and Soldier had semi-automatic weapons. This means we will not be measuring the damage the Flamethrower does by one tap of the mouse, but instead how much damage it does over a given period of time. 1 second should be more than enough to show off how much damage Pyro can do, so we'll be looking at how much damage Pyro can do per second. The Pyro's Flamethrower has 200 ammo load into the chamber from the start, and Pyro can do a max damage of 153 damage per second. Pyro's Flamethrowers have the unique trait of having an afterburn effect. This afterburn effect does 8 damage per 10 seconds, which comes out to a total of 80 damage that you do over a period of 10 seconds. If you're on fire from afterburn, you can run to water immediately to stop the flames in your body from killing you slowly. Pretty common sense right there, but common sense is becoming uncommon lately, so I feel like I have to put that in there. With Pyro's Air Blast, it has a special feature of being able to push back enemies, projectiles, and even extinguish teammates. When you extinguish a teammate, you heal 20 health and your teammate is no longer burning alive, and that's a huge bonus right there. Now, how do Pyro's 5 other flamethrowers change the way you play Pyro? Let's find out. As always, let's start off with the positives. This new flamethrower would have guaranteed critical hits from behind, a 60% faster switch to and 30% faster switch from speed. It would have a 300% increase to burning players. You'd visit Pyroland, and to quote the wiki on this one, upon dealing 300 fire damage, taunting initiates oomph, which gives guaranteed critical hits over a short period of time. No damage or knockback is taken during the taunt. So essentially, you kill things very quickly if they are on fire. To all the WM1 pilots who are out there, this weapon was made for you. Now with the downsides, it's actually not too bad. You lose the ability to air blast, which knocked this weapons down as support role, seeing as you can no longer air blast projectiles away from your teammates anymore. You deal 66 less afterburn damage, there are no random crits, and you must play in Pyro lane when this weapon is equipped. Not too bad on the downsides if I do say so myself. Yes, air blasting is good, but for the trade-offs this weapon is giving, I would say it's fair. The only extra stat this weapon would have is that instead of continuous flames, you shoot a projectile of fire, and you do more damage if the fireball center makes direct contact with people. In the right hands, I think a pyro with this weapon would be a pain to deal with. If you're enjoying the video, leave a like and subscribe, and let me know how you're enjoying the series so far in the comments below. Now, back to the video. Onto the secondaries. Starting off with the shotguns, we have the stock shotgun, panic attack, and reserve shooter. The set of weapons may sound familiar because of the exact same shotguns that the soldier uses. That makes my job a whole lot easier because I already have the stats calculated out. So let's get into it. The stock shotgun shoots 10 pellets at once, which each pellet doing 6 damage. He's able to fire off shots every 0.625 seconds and reloads every second for the first shotgun shell, but then half a second for the remaining shells. He's able to have 6 ammo loaded at once and can hold up to 32 rounds in reserve. When we throw on the panic attack on the reserve shooter, we add a 70% faster weapon deploy time and 15% faster switch from speed, shoot 50% more pellets per shot, and shoot them in a fixed pattern. For an explanation of what a fixed pattern is, watch my soldier video where I go over it in more detail. For the downsides, there's a 34% smaller clip size, 20% damage penalty, and that successive shots become less accurate. Pretty average all around, so there isn't much more to add to this weapon. Let's move on to the flare guns. The flare gun does a base damage of 30 and gives an afterburn effect of 8 damage for 7.5 seconds for a total of 60 damage in total afterburn damage. Let's see how adding in some more weapon stats change this weapon for the better or the worse. These flare guns have a lot going on for them. First off, the upsides. The flare gun will do critical damage to burning enemies, it will hit enemies if you shoot them in water but cause no afterburn, and by right clicking you can extinguish a teammate that is on fire and heal 20 HP. This weapon will not require any ammo, has a 50% increase in projectile speed, and the flare will knock the enemy back slightly and ignite them within a small radius. The flare gun can be used to destroy sticky bombs placed by Devilman, and the flare, after hitting an enemy, will fall on the ground and linger there for a bit, potentially damaging enemies. Lots of great upsides which will be mitigated by these absolutely wonderful downsides. The flare gun has a 50% explosion self-damage vulnerability on the user, a 55% damage penalty, 35% self-damage force penalty, and this would not be a combined weapons video without no random quits on a weapon. With the extra stats, we have a lot to cover here. First, on hit, ignite the enemy on fire. When firing the flare, if you press mouse 2, you will detonate the flare mid-air, causing damage to surrounding enemies, but less than if you shot them. You can also use this to flare jump and get some boost with this weapon. Finally, by pressing mouse 2 when not firing a weapon, you can extinguish players and store guaranteed crits to be used for later. Honestly, this weapon is causing me some trouble. It has a huge damage debuff, but it seems like its versatility can be used for the overall greater good. Maybe this weapon plays more a support role, shooting enemies from far away to do some damage and help your teammates out, but I think this weapon plays more as a tool to annoy the other team. You can do a lot of damage over time, but I feel like you're never going to kill anyone with this weapon, and that's just a fact. Finally, onto the melee weapons. Pyro stock melee is the fire axe doing 65 base damage and allowing the pyro to attack every 0.8 seconds. Now the pyro has 13 melees that change more than just the kill icon, and 2 of those are weapon reskins of those already new ones that alter stats. So really, 11 melees that change up the gameplay. Let's get into it. First, the combined axe will do mini crit damage against burning players. Your damage will increase based on how much time is left on afterburn damage, and killing blows on burning players will grant a speed boost. You do double damage to enemy buildings, you remove sappers on buildings in one hit, and killing a player with this weapon heals you for 25 health. This is something that I never knew the Power Jet could do, even though it says it right there in the weapon description. I tested this in TR Walkaway, and to quote myself while I was testing this, man, it is so satisfying to kill things in this game. Back to the upsides. You receive a 15% faster movement speed while active, picking up health packs give you 50% more health. On hit, you set your target on fire and damage transfers to all players connected by medic beams. When you equip this weapon, you visit Pyroland, you get a 100% critical hit against wet players, and you get a speed boost whenever you hit a player. Great upsides ruined by bad downsides. Starting us off, we have a 93% damage penalty. That means that this axe only does 5 damage per hit. This weapon has a 35% switch from speed debuff, raises damage vulnerability by 20% when equipped, and you get 75% less healing from medics and dispensers, but not health packs. You can only play in Fireland, and finally, there are no random crits. Moving to the extras, you have to hit twice in a row whenever you attack with this weapon. It broadcasts to everyone when you hit a player. Kills are labeled as slap kills in the kill feed, and killing an enemy turns them into solid gold statues. With all the stats out of the way, let's move on to the results. Just a reminder that we rank all the weapons individually, so even though a weapon may not work well because of other weapons, I'm not taking that into consideration when ranking them. Also, because we already ranked the exact same shotgun, I will not be ranking that one as well. Starting off with the Flamethrower, we're putting it in A tier. If this weapon had air blast, then I would definitely put it in S tier, but that combined with a shorter burn duration and having to play in Pyroland just brings it down slightly. Not saying Pyroland is bad, it just gets annoying after a while. This weapon is not one to think is bad at all though. Very good with amazing upsides, just not extremely overpowered enough to be in the S tier. Following the Flamethrower is the Flare Gun. A Flare Gun is a solid weapon that does exactly enough. For this reason, I'm putting it in B tier. Due to damage penalties, but still being able to help out your team, this weapon looks to annoy the enemy more than kill them. You might see a group of your team enemies fighting, go ahead and fight into the crowd. You might get a kill, but it's highly unlikely. It reminds me of how the Flying Guillotine works. Yeah, you make them bleed, but you need to follow it up to actually get the kill. Due to Scout's speed, he can catch up and finish them, but the Pyro does not have the speed to do this, so that's why I put this weapon in the B tier. Finally, the Fire Axe would be put in D tier. Practically all the upsides are immediately redundant due to being able to do 5 damage per hit, or 15 if the enemy is on fire in the water or is hit with a crit. It does have the effect of burning the enemy, but that will not be enough to kill the enemy before you die. In a one-on-one scenario, you might be able to kill the enemy, but only if no one else is around, and you will most likely die first due to them being able to output so much more damage than you. The only way I see you actually killing the enemy is with afterburn after you die. That's the video. Thank you all so much for watching, and if there's anything I missed, let me know in the comments below. I hope you all have a great day. Peace.